I never thought I'd hear those words from the woman I promised forever to. "You're bad in bed, Daniel." Emma's voice was colder than the winter wind that sliced through the city streets outside. She stood there, arms crossed tightly across her chest, her jaw clenched so hard it looked like it might snap. The words didn't just float in the room. They crashed into me like a fist, straight to the ribs, knocking the air from my lungs. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and keep watching. Because the best part's coming up next. We had been married for 6 years. 6 years filled with shared mornings wrapped in blankets, laughter spilling over late-night dinners, whispered secrets in the dark, or so I believed. Not once, not in all those years, had she ever said anything remotely like this. And here I was, standing frozen, as if the floor beneath me had suddenly disappeared. The room around us was dim, the soft glow of the kitchen light casting long shadows. But somehow it felt blinding, like every lie and every silence we had swallowed was shining back at me, accusing. And it all started over something so damn trivial. Laundry. I had come home late that evening, dragging myself through the door after teaching 2 back-to-back classes at the community college. My body was aching, my feet throbbing in my worn-out shoes, my throat raw and scratchy from talking non-stop. All I wanted was a hot meal, a shower, and to collapse into bed, but Emma was already simmering. I could feel it the moment I stepped inside. She pointed at the laundry basket like it was a ticking bomb. "You said you'd fold these before work." "I'll get to it in the morning," I mumbled, shrugging off my jacket, my voice heavy with fatigue. That one sentence, simple, harmless, was like a match struck against dry tinder. She exploded. Her words came fast and sharp, a barrage that left me reeling. The trash hadn't been taken out. I forgot the almond milk again. Date nights had stopped months ago, maybe years. Somewhere between the mounting chores and her frustration, her complaint spiraled into something deeper, darker. "You're just boring, Daniel," she spat. "A boring husband." And then, the final blow. "Honestly, you're bad in bed." Time stopped. It wasn't just an insult, it was a gut punch. A brutal fracture of everything I believed about myself. From the woman I loved, the woman I thought loved me back, came a sentence that shattered my self-worth. I forced out a bitter, hollow laugh, half in defense and half in disbelief. "Really, Emma? That's what this has come to?" She didn't flinch. Her eyes, cold and unreadable, locked on mine. "Maybe if you weren't so dull all the time, I wouldn't feel like I'm missing out." Before I could even respond, before I could yell or walk away or let myself fall apart, another voice cut through the silence, sharp and unforgiving. "That's not true." We both turned. Olivia, Emma's best friend. She had been here earlier for wine and the usual chatter, but clearly hadn't left. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, expression hard as stone. "I've heard you brag about him, Emma," Olivia said coolly. "Don't lie to Daniel to cover your own guilt." Emma's face shifted, first drained of color, then flushed with rage. "What the hell are you doing?" "I'm being honest," Olivia snapped, stepping fully into the room. "Something you clearly struggle with." Emma's eyes flickered wildly, caught between fury and fear. "You have no right." "No right?" Olivia interrupted, voice rising just enough to shake the room. "You humiliated him, dragged him through the dirt. And for what? So you could feel better about what you've been doing behind his back?" My heart slammed against my ribs. I was barely breathing. My hands trembled, palms cold and clammy. Olivia, I whispered, barely able to speak. What are you talking about? She didn't waver. Her gaze pierced me with painful clarity. She's been texting another man. Flirty messages, pictures, plans to meet. Curious what happens next? Hit like, subscribe, and keep watching. Trust me, you don't want to miss this part. I looked at Emma. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. It's not what you think, she stammered, eyes darting like a trapped animal. Don't lie, Olivia said, voice sharp and final. You've been tearing Daniel down to justify your own betrayal. A suffocating silence fell between us. I stared at the woman who had been my world, the woman I'd given everything to. I searched her face for something, remorse, anger, sorrow. But all I found was fear. Pure, raw fear of being caught. Is it true? My voice cracked, barely more than a whisper. Emma's lips trembled. He made me feel wanted, she admitted, tears slipping down her cheeks. I didn't mean for it to go this far. She was crying, but those weren't tears of regret. They were the tears of someone cornered, exposed. You told me I wasn't good enough, I said, voice ragged and raw. You humiliated me, broke me, just to cover up your own mistakes? She reached out her hand, desperate, but I recoiled as if she'd burned me. The thought of her touch made my skin crawl. Don't, I said quietly, shaking my head. Just don't. Emma turned to Olivia, maybe looking for support. But Olivia shook her head slowly, her voice steady, final. I'm done protecting you, Emma. You crossed a line. You don't deserve him. Her sobs filled the room, raw and desperate. But I was already slipping away, mentally, emotionally. My body still stood there. But the man who had loved her fiercely, who would have fought for her until the end, that man was retreating fast. I stood up, the crushing weight of betrayal settling over me. But beneath it, something stronger stirred. Clarity. For 6 years, I believed in us, I said softly, voice breaking. I believed in you. But this is something I can't come back from. Emma tried one last time. Daniel, I love you. I looked her in the eyes, really looked at her, and saw the truth beneath the tears. Then you should have fought for me, I said. Not against me. I didn't wait for a reply. My footsteps were slow but steady as I made my way to the door. Olivia gave me a small, sad nod. No words, just quiet understanding. Before I stepped outside, I glanced back one last time. Emma was crumpled on the couch, a mess of tears and regret. For a fleeting moment, I felt sorry for her. But only for a moment. Because I was the one made to feel small. The one torn apart. Not for what I did, but for what I wasn't. That night marked the end of a chapter. The death of a marriage I thought was unbreakable. But it also marked something else. Freedom. Beneath the pain, beneath the betrayal, something fierce and unyielding awakened in me. Resolve. I stepped out into the cool night air. For the first time in what felt like forever, I breathed deeply, really breathed, and I made a promise to myself. I will never let anyone make me feel unworthy of love again. Honestly, stories like this hit hard because they remind us how complicated and painful relationships can be. What struck me most was Daniel's quiet strength. How even after being torn down, he found clarity and chose self-respect over staying in a toxic situation. It's a raw and honest portrayal of betrayal, but also of growth. Sometimes, the hardest endings lead to the most necessary beginnings. This story doesn't just show heartbreak, it shows hope. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real, emotional stories. And I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Daniel's shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation.